awareness. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested in that.
Absolutely. You know, veteran mental health and suicide awareness is one of those topics that you read about every day. You hear it about in the news, social media, and then personally, my Marine brothers and I lost a friend of ours to suicide about 1.5 years ago, and I just felt that calling to kind of go the extra step, no pun intended, but to go take the extra step and kind of reach out and kind of bring together a community of folks that could relate to suicide and mental health one way or another, whether they struggle themselves with mental health challenges, or they lost somebody that they loved very much to suicide, or even just folks that maybe can't relate to the epidemic personally but want to make a difference one way or another. It's really a broad message to a lot of people that you're needed, you're valued, you're loved, and you have a purpose in this world. And if you're willing to reach out halfway, you've got plenty of people out here that want to listen to you and be present for you.
And one of the big things you did to bring awareness for that was that walk you did about this time last year around Lake Michigan. Tell me about that walk and what inspired it.
It was the adventure of a lifetime, Tori. It was just, and honestly, when I first started out and embarked on that adventure, I wanted to bring people together to talk about this issue, but I did not expect it to fully to snowball the way it did. And it speaks volumes about the magnitude of the epidemic itself, that it affects so many people. And to take off on that trip and for 42 straight days, meet so many good-hearted, genuine people that wanted to make a difference in their own way, whether it had been providing a meal or shelter or just sharing their story. It was a blessing, and I feel so privileged to be able to go on that trip and to meet so many good people. Not just during, but even after, in the last year or so between trips, it's led to a lot of great connections.
People tend to view military members, maybe even pro athletes, as these strong people who might not be affected by mental health, but we've seen more and more pro athletes speaking out about the issue. I mean, just in the NFL, Dak Prescott has been one of them recently, and you're doing it with your own story and the story of people's whose lives have touched you as well. Why is it important for people who may be perceived as untouchable by this illness to speak out?
Absolutely. Just like physical health is important, to take care of our bodies, mental health is just as important. And each of us, no matter what your background is, where you come from, what your profession is, it comes with its share of challenges, between pro athletes and military and first responders and even teachers and those who work on the local scale, deal with their own challenges and whatnot. And it's important for them to, all of us, not to just find ways to heal, but also prevent ourselves from getting into that emotional hole, so to speak, And so it's great seeing a lot of professional athletes in the spotlight talking about this and bringing it to the light. But I would, also want to further encourage, my brothers and sisters in the armed forces to speak up and not be shy about what they're going through.
And we so appreciate the work you are doing for that, Travis. Thank you so much for being our hometown hero this week. We appreciate the work you do.
It's an honor. Thank you.
What Travis is doing is so needed and so important. We want to thank him again for his service, and we look forward to having him back at the stadium soon. You can nominate your hometown heroes today at DetroitLions.com/hometown heroes.
Thank you, Tori. We would like to also thank the Henry Ford Health System for being the presenting partner of today's pregame show. And fans, as always, a reminder, make sure you tune into Fox 2 each Sunday at 10 a.m. for Lions Game Day Live. And tune into Fox 2 tonight at 11 p.m. to watch Sportsworks and Lions Game Night for a complete recap and interviews from this afternoon's game. And, of course, if you are watching from the Detroit Lions broadcast region, make sure you tune into your local Fox station to catch today's game, which kicks off at 1:02 Eastern Time. Are you the ultimate Lions fan? Does your fandom go beyond the game? Well, as a part of the NFL Fan of the Year contest, the Lions are searching for one extraordinary fan who is a positive influence and inspires others through their love of the game of football. Visit NFL.com/fan of the year for more information or to nominate yourself or others for a chance to win a trip to the Super Bowl. And we want to see your Game Face fans. You have the opportunity to be featured on today's show. All you have to do is post using the hashtag DTEGameface and showing us your game day energy. Don't miss out on the opportunity to be a part of the Lions Game Day. Post now using the hashtag DTEGameface.
Anthony, today is the Lions' crucial catch game, one they hold every October, and although it looks very different than in other years, we are still proud to continue our long-standing partnership with Henry Ford Health System and Game on Cancer. Henry Ford Health System is committed to catching cancer early and tackling all different types of cancer. Let's take a look.
I think there's nothing more scary than a diagnosis of cancer. It's a 6-letter word that reverberates throughout someone's entire family, their entire social network. It's incumbent upon us as a system of choice to make sure that we have every possible treatment at our disposal to offer to patients. I believe there's never been a better time or a better place to offer hope. We don't talk about first in the hospital or first in the city or first in the state anymore, even the first in the country. We're talking about first in the world treatments that have been developed here. So we have the first MRI view ray where if a tumor is in the lung and someone's breathing and the lung is moving up and down, we can target exactly where that treatment needs to go. For brain cancer, we have the ability now to, in real time, figure out what the molecular fingerprint is of that patient's tumor. There's a trial called ADRIAN. This came out of the Cancer Moonshot that was sponsored by the White House. Many sites around the world have signed up. We were the first here at Henry Ford to launch it. And all of the new tools that we have to make sure that the right patient gets the right treatment at the right time, it's never before been possible to offer what we are doing today in real time, and it's making a difference. When I came to Henry Ford 15 years ago and we diagnosed patients with the most malignant of brain tumors, the life expectancy was often measured in weeks or months. Hardly anyone lived past a year. This past year, we had an anniversary party for a 10-year series of patients who live more than a decade. And to think that this is what modern medicine can do and to think that this is what we can do at Henry Ford, it makes all the difference. Having the Brigida Harris Cancer Pavilion and the Nancy Vlasic Skywalk connecting our cancer enterprise is just absolutely an incredible visual affirmation of all of the work that's going on here because it's steeped in tradition. Its foundation is in the history of patient care and in doing the best we can for our patients, but it also is a glimmering, shining new tower of modernity, of advancements into the future. It's a bridge to our system, it's a bridge to our service line, it's a bridge to wherever there is a Henry Ford blue sign to say that the care we are offering in 2020 and beyond is beyond all expectation, and if it can be done in the United States of America or on planet Earth, it's going to be done here at Henry Ford.
The work being done is truly incredible. All of us at the Lions are so inspired by the courageous survivors, caregivers, doctors, researchers, and the entire Henry Ford Health System team. Well, here at Ford Field, the players are starting to hit the field for warm-ups, which means it is time to welcome in Tim Twentyman to our pregame show. We are happy to have him on set here to chat a little bit about Lions Saints with us. Tim, first of all, we're glad we're having a game today.
We're glad we're having a game. A little bit of a scare there, but look, that's why the NFL has the protocols, right? And look, we experienced that a few weeks ago back when Matthew Stafford had a false positive, but that's why you have the protocols, and Michael Burton took the 2 tests, and they came clear, and look, the NFL wasn't caught off guard by this. That's why the protocols are in place, and that's why they have the kind of testing and protocols they do, and so it worked out, and glad we're playing football today.
Absolutely. Well, the team is starting to hit the field right now. The specialists are out there. I know we're going to talk a little bit about offense, but man, those specialists are really killing it for the Lions.
Specialists have been really good. I mean, you just look at the fourth quarter of that game last week. I think it was really all 3 phases, but special teams played a huge part. Now, obviously, Matt Prater with the walk-off field goal, that you talk about that first, but then also, Fox getting the punts in there, but it all starts with Prater. I mean, you look at the last week, 4 for 4 on field goals, 100%. One of the best, 50-plus yard kickers in NFL history, and he's just automatic. And Matthew Stafford said this team feels more than comfortable when he comes out onto the field in those situations, and he proved last week that he can obviously get it done. And then you talk about Jack Fox and leading the NFL in punting average and net punting, and They've had a good return game. Jamal Agnew at 17.5 per punt. They've just been really good all the way around there, Tori.
Yeah, Jack Fox, NFC Special Teams Player of the Month. Not the week, the month. Jack Fox won that punting battle in training camp, and he is your Detroit Lions punter. Man, he has been crushing it out there. You see him out on the field getting ready for this game against the Saints.
Yeah, and you just look at what he's been able to do as a first-year player. It's pretty amazing. We talked about the average in the net, but last week, I mean, being able to dump that punt in the fourth quarter inside the 10-yard line, then your defense comes, steps up, and gets you a 3 and out. Now they kick it back to you. Jamal Agnew has a great return into Saints territory, and you turn that into points. That's how you win football games, right? And
Absolutely.
that's why Matt Patricia talks about special teams being so important all the time. Last week in the fourth quarter, we saw exactly why. And if the Lions get all 3 of those units going, special teams, offense, and defense, like they did in the fourth quarter last week, they can have some success here against the Saints as well.
All right, let's take a look at the Lions offense today. This is going to be important for this team. The New Orleans Saints are missing their top 2 cornerbacks because of injuries this week, so Matthew Stafford could have a big day.
Yeah, you see that little smile, that little smirk Matthew's got going on in that graphic right there. I think when he saw the injury report and the inactive list, he might have had the same thing because, like, no Marshawn Lattimore, no Janoris Jenkins, that's their 2 best cornerbacks.
Yeah.
And so you look at Matthew last week, I thought he played a really solid game last week. He had the 2 key turnovers the first 2 weeks, but he eliminated those. And so look at 62.3%. We talked last week. That was under 60%. You want to see that above 60%. So he did that. And then obviously he limited the turnovers last week, had 2 big touchdowns, still missed a couple throws. So I think there's still some areas there. And he said that this week when we talked to him. There's still a couple throws, especially in the red zone. I think as a team, and Matthew particularly has to be a little bit better. Detroit's only 6 of 13 scoring touchdowns in the red zone. That's just not good enough, Tori. That's too many points that you're taking off the board. And look, this is a Saints team that can still score. I know they don't have Michael Thomas. They can put 30-plus points up with Kamara and Manuel Samuels and some of the other weapons there. So, look, Matthew Stafford in this offense has to be good. They've got to score points because I think New Orleans is going to score them too with Drew Brees.
Yeah, they definitely struggled in the red zone last week. What do you feel like the Lions need to do in the red zone to be better against the Saints today?
I'm sorry, say that one more time, sorry.
What do you feel like the Lions need to do in the red zone today?
In the red
to be
zone,
better?
yeah. I think it starts with Kenny Galladay and TJ Hawkinson. I think when you look at mismatches, and look, everything's tighter in the red zone. And you look at Galladay there, 6 catches, 57 yards, averaging 9.5 and 1 touchdown in that 1 game back last week. He's a mismatch, and we saw it. One of their red zone touchdowns last week was to Kenny Galladay. He got matched up against a safety who was a little bit shorter than him. Matthew Stafford threw a nice ball up, and it was good for a touchdown. I think TJ Hawkinson is a similar player where you can move him around. You've got mismatches there at the tight end position. Look at his season so far, and we've talked about him. You know I'm pretty high on him. 13 catches, 171 yards. That average, I really like that average. That means he's making chunk plays, big plays, run after the catch plays, and the 1 touchdown that we saw week 1. But to me, the red zone really starts with those 2 guys. Those are your mismatches. Those are your guys, big, physical, speed. Those are the guys I think when in tight spaces in the red zone, I think that's where you have to utilize, especially if they get a one-on-one matchup.
How about Marvin Jones Jr.? What do you feel like he brings to the table today against the Saints?
Marv to me is one of those guys who's really, really underrated. I mean, you look at it there, the 11 catches for 129 yards and just the 1 touchdown. But, like, this is a guy who's had at least 5 touchdowns the last 3 years. 2 of those years he had 9 touchdowns. And when you talk about number 2 receivers around the league, I think, he's really underrated in that aspect. I think the Lions have a terrific 1-2 punch. You saw Marv in the fourth quarter. It was a quiet game for Marv overall last week, but he made those 2 crucial catches in the fourth quarter, right? Body control along the sideline, smart enough and experienced to stay in bounds, keep the clock running, right? Those are the key plays that Marv gives you. And you just look at Galladay and Marv together, 11 touchdowns last year. For Galladay, Marv had 9. That's a terrific combination, and I think it's one of the better 1-2 combos in the league. And I expect Marv to have a big game today because I think New Orleans Saints are going to go into this game saying, "Hey, look, we're shorthand on defense. Somebody's going to need help on Kenny Galladay." I think Marv's going to see a lot of one-on-one matchups today, and I would expect a pretty good game from Marv today.
Well, you guys were seeing clips of the players out on the field for warmups. We got the wide receivers and the running backs, quarterbacks, specialists out there right now. I don't think the offensive linemen are out there quite yet, but I think we do have some offensive linemen to talk about. We saw a little bit of a mix-up there on the offensive line from what we were expecting last week when Halapoulivaati Vaitai returned to the lineup. You know, he was playing at the right guard spot, and, you know, they moved Jonah Jackson over to where Joe Dahl was supposed to be because Joe Dahl is on IR right now. Tyrell Crosby has been locking down that right tackle.
Well, and I think it's a credit to Tyrell Crosby in the way that he filled in the first couple weeks. I thought he was really, really solid. And I think it's just a situation when you talk about all the time offensive line, you want your best 5 guys, whatever that combination looks like. And that's why coaches talk all the time about versatility and guys being able to play multiple spots along the offensive line, being able to play guard and tackle, or if you're an interior guy, being able to play center and guard. And that's why, because you got instances like this where you want to get your best 5 guys out there, and I consider Tyrell Crosby among the top 5 right now. And so, you know, Big V's able to slide inside. He's a big body in there. And, you know, I thought they did some good things in the run game last week. I think overall through the first 3 weeks, they're probably pretty happy with the run game. They're averaging over 100 yards per game, averaging 4.1 yards per carry. Adrian Peterson, we've talked about him. He's averaging 4.9 individually. So, you know, you want to get your 5 guys out there that I think gives you the best chance to win. And I thought we saw that last week, especially in terms of the run game with the Lions. I think Big V's got to clean some stuff up. He gave up a couple sacks, but you also got to remember that he hadn't played football in 9 months. He missed the first couple games, and so I think he'll be better there. And I think the Lions have found a good combination in those top 5, at least till Joe Dahl comes back.
Well, we've seen several clips of DeAndre Swift out there. The Lions have really been using him catching the ball out of the backfield, which is what we will see from Alvin Kamara today as well. What do you feel like we should see in the run game today? I know a lot of people were a little surprised. We've been seeing so much Adrian Peterson and have been wondering a little bit of where DeAndre Swift is at.
Well, you know, I think he's still fitting into the roles, and I think, look, you're seeing the numbers right now. You know, it's 105 yards, 105.7 yards per game. That you want that to be above 100, which it is. You want those yards per attempt to be above 4, which they are. Those 3 20-yard rushes, those are all from Adrian Peterson. So, you know, I think he's really established himself as kind of that guy, and I think they're going to ride the hot hand. And I think when you look at Kerryon Johnson, here's a guy that's, you know, settling into his role. He's one of the better pass blocking running backs in terms of the metrics these first 3 weeks, and he made a lot of those plays last week. And then you got Swift, who you mentioned. I think he's a guy that's explosive in the pass game. He's terrific in space. The Lions are using him in that role. And so, you know, I think these 3 Lions running backs are kind of filling into their roles. That's not to say it won't change up. You're seeing Swift right there, and, you know, maybe he gets a hot hand early, has a couple big runs, and you see his carries increase in a certain week. But I think it's Adrian Peterson going to kind of handle the heavy load. Kerryon's going to play a lot of those passing downs along with Swift. And you just look at Adrian Peterson, look at those numbers. You know, 43 carries, 209 yards. I think the 209 yards is 12th in the league. The 4.9 average, terrific. You know, the explosive plays that we talked about, 3 runs of 20-plus yards. He's got 7 runs, Tori, of 10-plus yards. I think that's 6th most in the league. And so, again, you know, you want to get Kerryon Johnson involved, right? You want to get Swift involved and run, but, you know, I think to me, carries are earned. And when you look at those numbers that were just on the screen with Adrian Peterson, he's earned those carries, and he's making the most of it, and it's resulting in the Lions' run game, you know, being consistent, being steady, having the kind of numbers that you want to see on a weekly standpoint. And so if it's not broke, why fix it, right?
Yep.
And so I think you just keep going with what you're going. I think the Lions like what they're getting, the production in the run game, and so I'd stick with it if it was me.
I've used that phrase a couple times this week. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Broke, don't fix it.
Tim, thanks so much for the input on the offense. Don't go away, guys. We will be back with more on the defense in just a bit.
All for revitalizing Michigan through the health of its people. All for preventing illness as aggressively as we treat it. All for heart attacks stopped, cancer eradicated, and new life delivered. All for opening our doors, hearts, and minds for you. Henry Ford Health System, all for you.
These past few months have been trying, but despite the setbacks, uncertainty, and challenges, one thing is certain: Michigan will recover, and Comerica is here to help our communities rise. Through our COVID-19 relief program, Comerica has donated millions to COVID-19 testing, personal protection equipment, crucial supplies, food banks, and small businesses. And we're just getting started. To learn more, visit comerica.com/rise.
Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry, joined here on set by Tim Twentyman. We are breaking down live player warm-ups ahead of the Lions matchup against the New Orleans Saints today. Tim, who should Lions fans be looking out for on defense today?
Well, you always start with Trey Flowers, and the guys up front. And I think it's got to be a collective effort from those 7 guys up front. Now, I think Christian Jones is going to play a factor. Now, he was questionable coming in. We saw him working out on the field before the kickoff. He's been dealing with a knee injury this week. He plays a crucial role in pass rushing, in that jack linebacker role. But I think it's going to be, all those guys. Deshaun Hand, another guy who was a little bit questionable coming in with a chest injury, he's going to play. So it really starts up front for me. It's a little bit different kind of, offense and quarterback you're facing this week in Drew Brees. Obviously, with Kyler Murray, you were so worried about, his ability to get out of the pocket and make plays, running the football. And, Drew Brees isn't going to hurt you with his legs, right? But you can't let him sit back there, pat the football, and find open spaces because he's the most accurate quarterback to ever play this game. You can't throw anything at him that he hasn't seen. And so we talked about it last week about, rushing, but being responsible in your rush lanes. This week, I think you just got to rush and get after it because you don't worry about Drew Brees breaking, contain and making plays with his legs. So it really starts for me today on defense with those front 7 guys. They've got to be really good about getting Drew Brees off his spot a little bit, rushing him hard, and not letting him just sit back there and complete passes. Because if you feel like Drew Brees sit back there, he's shown year after year after year after year after year that he can just kill you. So they've got to be real good up front.
Yeah, the defensive backs are taking the field right now. I find that position interesting today because we know Desmond Trufant is making his return. He was not inactive, so we expect to see cornerback Desmond Trufant, the Lions' big free agency signing at cornerback, out there on the field again today after the injury he suffered in week 1. However, it should be interesting to see if Amani Oruwariye is there across the field from him or if we see some more of Jeff Okudah, who had that big pick last week.
Yeah, you're seeing those guys right there, and there's Jeff coming off that big pick last year. It will be interesting to see what the Lions do because, Amani Oruwariye, the second-year cornerback out of Penn State, I think he's played really, really well these first 3 weeks. You just look at, I think he's allowed 95 passing yards in 3 games in his coverage. I think opposing quarterbacks only have a 77 passer rating when throwing at him, so he's played well. But there's the number 3 pick in the draft right there, right? And you saw what he did week 1. He struggled, I thought, against Green Bay, his first NFL game. And then, I thought he was much better last week. So it's going to be a decision, I think, between Amani Oruwariye, which you're seeing some of the statistics there, 9 tackles. He isn't afraid to come up and make a hit in the run game. He's defended 2 passes. There's that quarterback rating that I think is the key number with Oruwariye. That's only a 77 rating when throwing his way. He's been good, hasn't allowed a touchdowns, and you're seeing the yards allowed there. I think he's been really, really good, but it's a tough decision because you do have the number 3 pick, right? And you saw how much he improved from his first game week 2 to week 3, and you want to have him continue on that kind of trajectory, right?
Right.
And so, and there are the numbers with Jeff, right? The 6 tackles, the 2 tackles for loss. The tackles for loss, I think, is important too. I thought he made a really good play coming up.
Absolutely.
And it shows just some instincts, his speed, right? His toughness, his ability to tackle. I thought that was a terrific play. And then obviously the interception and the wherewithal to get up knowing it wasn't touched and return it back into Cardinals territory, which led to a key field goal. And so it's a tough decision because you've got a guy in Oruwariye who's playing really well. Do you want to keep playing this kid? You want him to steadily improve. And then you've got Trufant, a guy who was a key free agent signing, who was playing really well in that Chicago game. He had only allowed 2 catches for 20 yards through 3 quarters in that Chicago game before hurting his hamstring. And so it'll really be interesting what they decide to do.
Absolutely. Tim, if you had to guess, we probably see Desmond Trufant there in the number 23 jersey on one side of the field. Who do you think plays on the other side?
I think it's going to be Jeff Okudah. I really do. And I could be wrong. Or maybe it's a combination of Oruwariye and Okudah. But it really is a tough call. But I think when you're talking about the number 3 overall pick, when you're talking about your future at the position, I think Amani is their future as well. But what you saw with Jeff from week 2 to week 3, I think you just kind of want to continue that trajectory with a guy who's going to be so important to your future. And so it's really a tough call for me, and I don't think you can go wrong either way. And I would expect them to play 3 cornerbacks quite a bit. You might see all 3 on the field.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Which is something that Matt Patricia talked about this week. And so it's either way, it's a good problem to have, right? You want to promote competition at all positions. You want good players pushing good players. And so that's the situation they have at cornerback, and as a head coach, as an organization, you have to feel pretty good about that.
Well, we will absolutely be paying attention to who plays at cornerback today. Obviously, keep in mind, there will be no Michael Thomas that they have to cover, so that certainly lightens the load for these cornerbacks today. We've talked about the challenge that Jeff Okudah has had in his first few weeks in the league, facing Devontae Adams and then facing DeAndre Hopkins. Well, he doesn't have to face Michael Thomas today if he does in fact play. Let's take a look now at the linebackers. That's a position we haven't touched on yet. Tim, this week I was talking with Mike O'Hara on the One Pridecast and asked him about what players stuck out last week. He talked about Kenny Galladay, a couple other guys on offense, but for me, it was Jamie Collins Sr. I feel like he really found himself around the football. He had an interception, and he kind of set up that Jeff Okudah interception as well. How important is Jamie Collins?
Yeah, and Jamie is, we saw last week is why they went and got him in free agency. We talked about the numbers, I think, in the preview show, just what we saw last year with 81 tackles and 7 sacks and 3 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles. Look at the tackles, 13 tackles this year. He had that key interception as well. I think that interception is key, and his ability to cover from the linebacker position. If you look at some of the analytics over the last few years, he's one of the best cover linebackers in the league. You saw that last week when he got that interception, and I think he's going to play a key role this week. You look at Alvin Kamara and what he's been able to do the last 2 weeks for the Saints when they haven't had Michael Thomas, right? He caught 9 balls 2 weeks ago against Oakland, or against Green Bay, or yeah, it was Oakland. Last week, I think it was 13 catches for 130-some yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, the 52-yard touchdown didn't hurt that number either.
Yeah, and so I think I think Jamie Collins Sr. is going to play a crucial role. His length, his speed, his ability to cover. I think he's going to have a bunch of opportunities squared up against Alvin Kamara in the open field. Tackling is going to be key there. You've got to get him down. But I think that's a matchup that we'll see quite a bit. Who wins that matchup, I think will go a long way to seeing who wins this game today.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for weighing in on the offense, defense for the Detroit Lions. Guys, we have the pleasure of partnering with Comerica Bank for the 5th year in a row for the Comerica Bank Small Business Program. I got a chance to visit our Small Business of the Week this week, Unified Business Technologies. Take a look at a little bit more about this small business. This week's Comerica Small Business of the Game is Unified Business Technologies. We visited their offices here in Troy, Michigan to see a little bit more about what it is they do. Besides have this awesome slide that is. Let's go check it out.
We are UBT, Unified Business Technologies, and about 25 years ago, our founder and CEO, Michelle D'Souza, wanted to bring manufacturing here in Metro Detroit. And we offer services to our government, Department of Defense, and commercial customers, our OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers. And we are a woman, small-owned business headquartered right here in Troy, Michigan. We also are unique that we hire diverse employees, and 25% of our workforce are vets, and we are Silver Star status.
I love that diversity aspect of this business. You mentioned it. You guys are a women-owned and minority-owned business. What does it mean to be able to implement that in the community and bring such diversity into your company?
Well, being a customer of Comerica Bank, they support us, we support our employees, therefore we support our customers. And it's full circle because our customers are the military, and we support our troops and keep them safe. And they keep us safe in turn.
How has Comerica Bank's investment in your business helped you guys grow?
Support has been both ways. Comerica Bank gives us initiatives, we give them ideas, and they stick by us every time we try something new and we want to invest back into our company. They give us full support.
On a football Sunday, everybody pays attention to the Lions on Sunday, and you're spotlighting your business. What's that mean to you guys?
It's huge, and it's a huge honor, and it is giving us the visibility and platform that we would never have otherwise, and we so appreciate it. And first and foremost, that we are being supported as a woman small business. But secondly, we want people to know that we are here, we exist, and we basically, not only do we have manufacturing capabilities, but we developed a UV Sheltron UVC light disinfectant. And we want to get to our first responders and our schools and get back to business as usual and keep their businesses safe and keep everyone healthy. So this is a huge opportunity to let people know that we at UBT are here and we're here to help.
Thank you so much for sharing with us a little about this small business. We appreciate you guys and everything you guys are doing in this community.
You are welcome, and thank you and Comerica Bank for featuring us during the Lions game. We are so excited. Go Lions!
Thank you again to our friends at Comerica Bank for helping us honor UBT. To learn more about the small business program, head to DetroitLions.com.
From this town built on dreams, I love this township for my team, 'cause nobody's better than my town, than my team. Yeah, this is my town, this is my team.
Love seeing the fans get involved with that DTE game face. Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry, and joining me now on set is DetroitLions.com's Mike O'Hara. Mike, we're going to chat a little bit about the opposition, the New Orleans Saints, and I think that starts with talking about their quarterback, who's been there for quite some time, Drew Brees.
Well, absolutely. I think we've got a trend here going there, Tori. I think it's let's watch Mitchell Trubisky, let's watch Aaron Rodgers, let's watch Kyler Murray, and today's no different. Keep an eye on Alvin Kamara and how he helps Drew Brees.
Absolutely. What do you feel like the fans should be looking for when it comes to Drew Brees? You and I talked this week on the podcast about how Drew Brees isn't quite playing at the level we've seen of him in previous years, but you still got to be careful because he's got some playmakers.
Oh, absolutely. No, look, this is an old line. I'm going to use it again. He's not the Drew Brees of old, but is he really the old Drew Brees? Well, he's 41 years old, and he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to be what he was 20 years ago. I'm not. That was a long time ago, too. But the one thing about him, the issue on him right now is people talking about doesn't have the arm strength. He can't throw the ball downfield. He can't split defenders like he used to. And I think that's accurate. You can look at all the stats you want, Tori, but I look at the eye test. I watched the last game they played against the Packers, and it's just not the same player. But he's still Drew Brees, and he completes passes for a reason, and he uses what he has at his disposal. Now, he doesn't have Michael Thomas, he doesn't have Jared Cook, but he does have Alvin Kamara, the running back. And here's what he's done with him this season. Kamara's got 27 catches and 31 targets. What a percentage, okay? He's got 285 yards receiving. 280 of those are yards after the catch. Now, look, we've all seen that great video last week, the 52-yard reception. And that was really like about 56 yards after the catch because it was behind the line of scrimmage. I think he probably maxed out about 6 events in the decathlon. The run, the jump, the tumble, the hurdle, all of that stuff. You know, he made the podium for the United States on that one play alone.
I like it.
But he's a tremendous football player, and you have to keep an eye on him. And you have to understand this. Drew Brees didn't play in his 20th year now just for no reason. He's resourceful. He's a tremendous competitor. He's always ready to play, and don't take him lightly. I still think the Detroit Lions can shut him down or at least control him, but don't take it for granted.
Absolutely, and Alvin Kamara is going to be a key point in stopping this New Orleans Saints offense. But one positive the Lions have going for them is that Michael Thomas will not be playing. You mentioned that, Mike. How much do you feel like that affects this game, the Saints not having Michael Thomas?
Well, I'll tell you what, the Detroit Lions were 0-2 without Kenny Galladay.
Fair.
The New Orleans Saints are now 0-2 without Michael Thomas. Now, I'm not putting Galladay in Thomas's category, at least not yet, not at this stage of his career. Michael Thomas, I think, has earned the distinction of being called the top receiver in the National Football League. Now, on a given day, a given Sunday, a given game, there are 5 or 6, 7 guys who could be in that category. But Michael Thomas certainly is one of the leaders to say, look, I am the best because of what he does. He's 6'3", 215, 18 pounds. And you can watch him. He can catch the ball, split defenders, and go. He's strong. He runs great routes, great sharp routes. He's got great hands. You don't catch almost 150 passes in a season like he did a year ago, being just another guy. So that's a huge loss for them, like I think it was to a degree with the Detroit Lions with Kenny Galladay. But he's got to get. Drew Brees will find a way to get to work around Michael Thomas's loss like he has throughout his career.
Absolutely. Well, that Saints offense is certainly high-powered no matter who they have out there on the field as long as Drew Brees is at the helm. But Mike, I do want to touch on that Saints defense led by Cameron Jordan. What kind of threat is he on that defensive line?
Are you reading my notes?
Maybe.
That's next. That's number 4. Look, Cameron Jordan has been a tremendous football player. He's been a Pro Bowler 4 or 5 times, 2 of the last 3 years, and he had 15.5 sacks last year. Last year. But he really hasn't gotten off the track yet. That team has 9 sacks as a team, and Cam Jordan has none. I'd be wary of him.
Okay.
I think the Detroit Lions have done a pretty good job of protecting Matthew Stafford, but not so good last week. Gave up 4 sacks, the most they have this season, and there were a couple of those where it looked like a race to the quarterback. You got to really tighten up that front, that blocking unit, and hold their front 4 in check. But Cam Jordan is liable to, this is his 10th year, he's been a tremendous player throughout his career, and he's liable to break out at any time. Just don't make it today. Wish him the best of luck next week.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thanks so much for weighing in on the Saints. In just a minute, we will be back with your keys to the game for the Lions to beat the Saints here at Ford Field. Don't go away.
All for revitalizing Michigan through the health of its people. All for preventing illness as aggressively as we treat it. All for heart attacks stopped, cancer eradicated, and new life delivered. All for opening our doors, hearts, and minds for you. Henry Ford Health System, all for you.
Show off your Lions pride with the official Detroit Lions debit card offered only by UMCU. Choose how you will represent your team with 3 signature Lions designs. UMCU enhances your banking experience with access to a convenient mobile app, nationwide network of ATMs, and 24/7 online banking. Plus, cardholders get special member-only offers from the Lions. Join UMCU today and be the first in line to receive your exclusive Detroit Lions debit card. Visit umcu.org. Welcome back into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. I'm Tori Petry, sitting here on set with Mike O'Hara, talking a little bit about the Lions' opponents today. We talked about what the Saints bring to the table with Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, obviously what they're missing in Michael Thomas. But the Lions want to get the win today and head into their bye at 2-2. Mike, what is the first key that they need to be aware of in order to win this game?
Well, I'd say scout the coach, not just the system and not just what they run. And that means Sean Payton, because he really is apt to do anything. Just go back to the year they won the Super Bowl. He started the second half with an onside kick. Nobody expected that, including the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts at the time, Jim Caldwell, and that really turned that game around. So be ready for what he does. He is an innovative play caller, and he's always got something, always. He's one of the reasons Drew Brees has been able to play so long at such a high level. The other side of it is Brees is the reason that Peyton's been around for so long, but it's a great combination. I was struggling to find the right way to say that.
Oh yeah, well it's kind of the Brady Belichick debate, which we are kind of getting an answer on this season. Seeing how those two played so well off of each other and now they are playing without each other. Well, Sean Payton and Drew Brees are still together, so they are still creating magic out there on the field, and the Lions have got to be able to stop both of them today. Another point in this keys to the game, you feel like the Lions really need to get Drew Brees on the ground.
Absolutely, win the battle up front, but that also means protecting your own guy too, and then protecting Matthew Stafford. But yeah, win the battle up front. Look, they've got 3 sacks in 3 games, 1 in each game by a different player. You're barely surviving at that rate, and that's what you're doing. You're surviving with that sort of rate. Now look, they did one thing defensively last week that they hadn't done all year, and that was get turnovers. Got 3 on interceptions. They've only forced, I think, 1 fumble in the first 3 games too, and didn't recover it. So if you win the battle up front, you create a little bit of mayhem. I think they ought to play, even though he's older, more experienced. I think they ought to play Drew Brees a little bit like they played Kyler Murray last week. And we talked about that to some degree last week. He's a shorter quarterback, not as mobile as Kyler Murray, but nobody is. And get your hands, if you can't get to him, get your hands up and block the passing lanes. And I think that really did play a factor last week in a couple of the throws that Kyler Murray misfired on, because he just couldn't get the ball above those defenders. The first one, I think, when Jamie Collins, Sr., remember he got the rush there, couldn't let him follow through on his throw.
Yeah.
The ball sailed, and they got an interception out of it. Try to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Which players do you feel like Lions fans should keep an eye on their defense that might be getting after the quarterback, or at least getting in the backfield today?
Well, whoever plays in the secondary, that would be one. But up front, I think Jamie Collins has really played some pretty good football. I really do, and I think you saw some things he did last week. One with the interception, one with the rush. I looked at Pro Football Focus among what they call edge rushers, linebackers. They have him listed in the top 6 or 7. I forget exactly what it was. But anytime you're in the top 10, then you're in this discussion of being a good football player. And I think it's time for Trey Flowers for some of his work to pay off. Look, he's a really, really good football player. I don't think he's an elite pass rusher, but I think he can do some work today against the Saints offensive line and maybe get to Drew Brees, and that's a huge, huge benefit for the secondary.
Yeah, it absolutely would be. Well, the players have left the field. Warm-ups are wrapping up here at Ford Field, but we're still moving through our pregame show. A couple more things to hit on, Mike. Finally, one thing we've talked about through all of the games so far this season is the need to finish, and you feel that's going to be important again today.
Well, I thought you were going to say make sure that your mask doesn't clash with your sweater.
Second
Anyway,
most important.
I'm gonna iron it as soon as I get home. But no, seriously, I think you hit it right on the head there. Look, I thought they played their best football of the season last year at the end of the first half, and then at the end of the game, the fourth quarter. And you really look at it, you want to play what they call complementary football, and that's offense, defense, special teams. You take them one in order. Special teams, 2 great punts, 2 great coverage, pins the Cardinals down. Defense takes over, gets a 3 and out on the first one, a 5 and out on the second one, gets the ball back for the offense, and bingo. A field goal drive to tie the game, and then the game-winning field goal on the last play of the game. He used up the entire almost 5 minutes of the clock, which Matthew Stafford is a master at. Bingo, field goal goes through, game's over. Lions fly home, having a good time.
Absolutely. Fourth quarter will be certainly important against the Saints today. Mike, Lions fans do a great job of appreciating our Lions players. Another thing that they appreciate is our teachers. We've teamed up with Campbell's Chunky to appreciate some of our Michigan teachers, and I got a chance to sit down with our champion of the game this week, Sally King, to talk about her teaching experience. Take a look. Today's champion of the game, fueled by Campbell's Chunky, is Sally King. Sally, we so appreciate what our teachers do for kids. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on being our champion of the game.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, we want to get to know you a little bit. How did you first get interested in teaching?
Well, at Central Michigan University, where I started off, I was going into sports studies, but I found a passion for coaching girls basketball at that time. And I wasn't ready to give up that passion, so I pursued the teaching profession, and it's been the best fit. I love every second. I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else.
Well, help us get to know your current role and your students that you teach right now.
So I'm at Oxford High School right now. I've been here for 13 years. I teach algebra and geometry, and I mainly deal with our at-risk and IEP populations. It's an awesome experience, to really get these kids to respect and understand that all teachers are here to help them. And for me to step in and earn that respect from those kids and really get them to be successful, it's a cool thing to do.
What does it mean to be able to be chosen as the champion of the game, fueled by Campbell's Chunky, for this Lions game this weekend?
It's awesome. Pam Fine, who nominated me, is a phenomenal person. And I'm just so blessed to be around some awesome people here at Oxford High School that make my job with the students very easy, and the students get along with myself, so we just have a good time.
Pam Fine says she is one of the least recognized teachers we have because of how humble and unassuming she is. She respects and cares about her students. She believes in them, so they believe in themselves, and all of that success is directly related to her unconditional regard for all students. What does it mean to have your colleagues say that about you?
Oh, it's just incredible. It's very heartfelt and warming to know that, my coworkers do appreciate what I do. It just feels amazing.
Sally, thank you so much. Congratulations once again. We want you to know that we appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you so much.
We want to thank Sally again for her dedication to her students and wish them all a successful 2020 academic year. You can nominate your champion of the game today at DetroitLions.com/champion.
We'd also like to thank Henry Ford Health System for being the presenting partner of today's pregame show. And make sure you tune into the home of the Detroit Lions after the game, WJR AM 760. You'll get all the latest info on the game, plus hear from Coach Patricia and many of your favorite players. That's the Lions postgame show on WJR AM 760, the radio home of the Lions. This season, there are even more ways to get into the game thanks to Lions Bingo presented by BetMGM. Lions fans can play along for free all season long for the chance to win great prizes, including the grand prize each week of a weekend stay at an MGM resort location. Just download the Lions mobile app and register to play Lions Bingo each and every week. Play along during the game, and once you hit bingo, you score courtesy of our friends over at BetMGM. Learn more and lock in your Lions Bingo board before kickoff by visiting the official Lions mobile app now. And all morning, fans have been submitting photos showing their game day energy using the hashtag DTEGameface. And you can see fans from all over that are prepared for today's game. Thanks again to all our fans who are part of today's DTE Gameface.
That was Sweta Patel, one of our favorite Lions fans who is always active on social media. Got to get our social media in there. Anthony, you know what else we got to get in here is our fantasy picks. Everybody's paying attention to fantasy, and I know we got so much to talk about. Last week we didn't get to make our fantasy picks because we were already in that 425 window where games were already going on, so we didn't pick across the league, but I wanted us to take a look across the league. First of all, let's look at the passing leaders in fantasy right now. Dak Prescott up there at the top of that list. That Cowboys offense has been high-powered, and Josh Allen and the Bills are doing some real exciting things as well.
I'm telling you what, Buffalo has just, talk about blowing the doors off of people. 3-0 on the season. They had a little bit of a scare after Rams' comeback last week, but look a little bit further down that number 4 spot. Russell Wilson, 14 touchdowns. Only one interception. The Seahawks offense has been dynamite this year, but the defense, they've had some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's take a look at the rushing leaders across the league. Who's leading when it comes to the run game? Derrick Henry for the Titans obviously will not be playing this week due to that delayed Titans game, but Aaron Jones there at running back for the Green Bay Packers, he's been doing big things.
Yeah, that Aaron Jones at number 2, that really hurts my feelings considering what he did that first play of the third quarter there against our Lions out there in Lambeau, the 75-yard touchdown run. But I look at another guy a little bit further down the list like a Nick Chubb who split some carries with Kareem Hunt. Talk about a 1-2 punch the Cleveland Browns have. And then how about the young rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire? He's been fantastic for Kansas City trying to fill that role there in KC at the running back position. So there are some big-time names up there, but Aaron Jones still hurts my feelings.
I understand. Some big-time names missing from that list as well with the injuries we've seen at the running back position with guys like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. Yes. But now let's look at the receiving leaders. DeAndre Hopkins for the Cardinals. It is really amazing that the Lions were able to stop him last week, and pretty incredible that Alvin Kamara's at the top of this receiving list too.
You know, fun stat here on Alvin Kamara. Do you know that he actually produces 30% of all of the team's receptions for New Orleans?
Wow.
30+% of their receiving yards and has half of their receiving touchdowns. Like, the guy is an absolute beast out of the backfield, so he's really the key for today's game for the Lions with no Michael Thomas on the perimeter. All eyes are on number 41.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike O'Hara, who was just on set with us, spoke with me on the One Pridecast presented by MGM Grand Detroit this week, and he said that Alvin Kamara, of his 285 receiving yards, 283 of them are yards after the catch. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's dynamic when he gets the ball in his hands, and he just makes people miss. I don't know if you saw that video floating around the internet about his workouts that he does when he's standing on like one of those ab balls and he's like catching different objects.
Oh,
and it was simply incredible to be able to watch. I mean, I couldn't do it, so I don't know how he does. He's got great balance.
Okay, one last thing we want to look at around the league is the defense leaders. Now, obviously, when you're playing fantasy football, it includes defense and special teams. These stats right here are just defense. That Colts defense is surprisingly high on this list.
Yeah, Indianapolis has been they're a team to watch, and they have a big game when it comes to Lions fans in paying attention to this one because the Colts get the Bears later on this afternoon at 4:25. I like Indianapolis in that football game. And a little bit further down the list, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they've been able to do in Blitzburg with guys like Bud Dupree and Devin Bush. He's a Michigan guy, 15 sacks on the season. That defense is always tough. And another Michigan guy in Chris Wormley there too.
Absolutely. All right, Anthony, it's time for us to make our fantasy picks, take some picks around the league. Who are you starting at quarterback this week?
All right, Tori, I'm going way outside here. How about Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns? Upset alert on the road in Dallas. I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but the Cowboys are ranked 31st against the quarterback in fantasy. Baker gets it done. Jarvis Landry, OBJ, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. Love Baker Mayfield today.
All right, that is a hot take, Anthony. I appreciate it, but I'm going with a safe pick here. I am going with Russell Wilson. We talked about it when we looked at those leaders in the passing game. 14 touchdowns from Russell Wilson. Everybody's already talking about him as the MVP this year. When a guy is playing like that, you got to start him in fantasy. So he's my pick this week. Also, they're playing the Miami Dolphins, who are not playing so well. So I'm going Russell Wilson. I think he has a big day today against the Dolphins. With that, let's take a look now at our running back picks. Oh, we're going to do receivers first. Anthony, who are you going with at receiver?
With receiver now, we're getting word, according to Adam Schefter, that this game between Kansas City and New England is actually going to be played earlier on in Monday night as part of a Monday night doubleheader. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. New England's 28th against wide receivers. If Cam Newton is out for that game, which it appears that he's going to be, Tyreek Hill and the offense, they're going to be rolling. I'm taking Kansas City and Tyreek Hill.
Okay, I'm going to go with Will Fuller this week. I really feel like this is going to be his week. They're playing Minnesota, and that Minnesota defense has just struggled this year. Will Fuller has not been what we thought he might be with the Texans not having DeAndre Hopkins anymore. He's dealt with some injuries, but I think this week is going to be his big week. He's been on my bench, and so I'm starting him this week. Anthony, who are you picking at running back?
Running back, I'm going to go James Robinson out of Jacksonville on the road against Cincinnati. Cincinnati putrid against the run game. He's been fantastic so far. Kind of a no-name guy making a name for himself down there in Duval County, so I'll go with Robinson.
Anthony, I'm going to hurt your feelings again with my pick. It's going to be Aaron Jones.
I can't believe
He's
it.
not playing the Lions this week, so I have to start Aaron Jones. Man, he has been playing well, and they're playing the Atlanta Falcons. Those games that the Falcons seem to get into seem to be shootouts, and the Falcons have really struggled late in games, so I'm going Aaron Jones this week. That is my pick at running back. All right, Anthony, thank you so much. It is time now for our Lions pick. One last pick today. Who are you picking to start at the Lions?
Matthew Stafford, secondary of New Orleans, is beat up. Lions are going to have the football a whole bunch because the defense is going to be getting off the field quickly. Saints are 28th against opposing quarterbacks. Stafford slinging it all over the place. I love Matthew today.
Yeah, we've talked all about how the Saints are missing their top two cornerbacks. I'm going Kenny Golladay. I think he has a big game today. With that, let's turn the page now to our projected starting lineups presented by Ford and take a look at who is starting on defense today for the Lions. On the defensive line, we've got Trey Flowers at defensive end. Defensive tackle, Danny Shelton. Defensive tackle, Nick Williams. And defensive lineman, Deshaun Hand. Now at the linebacker position, we have linebacker Christian Jones. We've got linebacker Jared Davis and linebacker Jamie Collins Sr. And finally, in that secondary, we've got Tracy Walker at safety, Desmond Trufant at cornerback, Amani Oruwariye at cornerback, and finally, Daron Harmon at that safety position. All right, guys, we are getting hyped for this game here at Ford Field. You know what else I think will get us hyped for this game is the Gatorade game trailer. Let's take a look. All right, we're just going to wrap up our show here today. We don't have a game trailer ready for you, but we do want to thank you guys for joining us here on our pregame show. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for tuning into the Detroit Lions pregame show presented by Henry Ford Health System. Be sure to tune in after the game because we will have a postgame show coming for you right here. But until then, enjoy this game between the Lions and the New Orleans Saints.